You're listening to the Proposify Biz Chat with Kyle Racki, a podcast for entrepreneurs looking to scale. This episode is brought to you by Proposify, software that streamlines your proposal process, impresses clients, and helps you close more deals. Head to proposify.com to start your free trial today.
I'm Kyle Racki.
And I'm Kevin Springer.
And this is the Proposify Biz Chat, episode 70, and the first episode of the new year, 2018.
Hallelujah.
Happy New Year, Kevin.
Thank you. Same to you.
So on this episode of the podcast, we want to talk about a year in review, 2017, what we learned, how Proposify grew, and what's in store for us in 2018.
What is in store, Kyle Racki?
Well, you're jumping ahead, Kevin. It was a really big year last year.
Yeah, it was.
In terms of the business, has grown. Actually, I don't think we realized how much it had grown until towards the end of the year, really, when we saw kind of that chart. Because I guess to put it in perspective, we had hit our first million in annual recurring revenue in 2016.
Yeah, probably Q3.
Q3, Q4.
Yeah.
And then we didn't hit number 2, our second million, until 2017. And then we were almost at 4 by the end of the year. So that's 122% growth in recurring revenue.
I love this business model. It's predictable.
It is predictable.
Every year we've become very close to our ARR projections.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
And we still haven't raised any money yet, but we may in time. Yes. We'll see. We're not against it. There's nothing wrong with raising money, but so far we haven't. So, it was an interesting year. I want to kind of dig into some of the cool numbers that we were able to dig out. Over the course of 2017, we saw 1 million new visitors to our website. That's pretty cool. These are a little bit vanity metrics, but it's still,
Yeah, but we gotta promote our marketing team. They're killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. 300,000 visitors to our blog. I believe that counts podcast listeners too. 40,000 new people started Proposify trials. I wish our conversion was 100%, but
we're getting there.
And then last year also we started a podcast. Well, we kind of rebranded the podcast and started a YouTube channel, which we've been seeing some pretty good success. I think we have like 350 YouTube subscribers, which not about to retire and become a YouTube sensation yet, but I finally beat my son in subscribers. That was pretty cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he's really been stuck.
He's the man, yeah.
And my 10-year-old, he was
you guys
quite
are very
above
competitive,
us for a
I
while.
noticed.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got an Xbox One for Christmas.
Plus I hear he could kick your ass too when you're wrestling. He tells me he can beat you.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, so I got him an Xbox One for Christmas, which is kind of a Christmas present for me too, and we've been playing like Injustice, where you're the DC characters fighting. We get so mad. It's not good for our father-son relationship.
Nice. You're very passionate about superheroes ever since I've known you.
Yeah.
So I could see how you'd have that passion, even against your son.
I always play as Batman too.
Yes.
Are you surprised?
No.
So, we've hired a lot of people last year. We saw, I think, our biggest increase in new employees at the company. I don't even remember how many new ones we've added, but I think we added about 15 or so, somewhere around that, 10 to 15 new ones.
Yeah, 12 comes to mind, but yeah, probably close to that number, 15, 12 to 15, yeah.
So it's cool. Now, I want to talk about the product a little bit. So for those listeners who are Proposify customers or users, you probably have noticed that we didn't launch a whole lot of new features last year. Now, we did launch a couple of new features. We launched, most notably, I would say, is the Stripe integration, which, by the way, so you can basically integrate your proposal. You can integrate your Proposify account with your Stripe account so that when you close a deal, you can specify, like, let's say that you want, upon signing, they pay 50% of the total project. You can set that up so it actually asks for it, and the person signing your proposal can pay like 50% of the project, goes right into your Stripe account. So it's really cool. Since launching that just last summer, people have been paid a total of $1.3 million using that feature. Isn't that cool?
It's very cool.
So that's awesome. It seems like people are really digging that. Now, as far as other new features, we didn't launch a whole lot for a couple of reasons. One was we were just hit with scaling issues. Like we had there was weeks where pretty much the whole team was just trying to put a stop to spammers, like using our system as a spam tool. That was annoying. Also, different APIs that we connect with. So we connect with we integrate with HubSpot and Salesforce, and some of them, no names, don't want to mention any names. HubSpot. They have a very inefficiently set up API, and so basically it just hammers the shit out of our servers. So that was another kind of like leaky bucket that they were trying to plug. But really, I would say the majority of their time spent was on Proposify 2.0. So this is something we're pretty excited about. It took a lot longer than we had hoped. There was a lot of scope creep and setbacks and that kind of thing. But essentially, it's a major evolution of the product from a technology standpoint, infrastructure standpoint, and just redesigned kind of parts of it from the ground up. So we're actually in alpha right now. We launched that just before the kind of December. I think it was at the end of November that we pushed into alpha. We started just trickling in a few new signups into it, getting a bit of feedback. So far, it seems pretty tight. So I think we're ready to move into beta very soon. But there's going to be a new blog post announcing that in a couple of weeks, where people, if you are a Proposify customer, you can actually migrate your account over into 2.0. And we'll have a blog post detailing all of the cool improvements.
I highly recommend it too. Definitely take the leap, folks. Take the leap.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, we're only going to be supporting 2.0 moving forward, so people are going to have to migrate. Right. But they're going to want to. We've got new features like the long-awaited custom variables and fields is going to be coming out on 2.0. We've got a new integration with FreshBooks 2, which is only going to be available on Proposify 2. So there's going to be a lot of reason for people to want to switch over.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So then from a marketing standpoint, one of the biggest things that we launched last year was the Full-Scale Agency, which was our first book. We wrote a book.
Soon to be on shelves.
Soon to be a major motion picture, right? Where'd my coffee go?
Maybe it will be. They make books into movies. It's pretty interesting.
I like movies
like Mad Men. It could be
movies and TV shows that are about agencies always tend to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah. But essentially, for those who haven't heard of it, it's a book it's kind of like a compilation of our most popular blog posts around scaling agencies. A lot of conversations that we've had over the years with different agency owners on our podcast. And it's really good, I think, if you run a small agency and you're, say, 2 or 3 or even 10 people, getting out of that kind of small mindset of, like, let's keep it small, let's not take on any too many big clients, realizing that in order to be profitable, in order to have the kind of business that we're fortunate enough to enjoy now, which is one where you can go on vacation, you can take a week off, or you can go on a conference and know that your business will still be there when you get back.
Right.
You have to scale as an agency.
Yep.
So that's what the book's all about.
And we're going to have a version 2 actually coming out, which will be a comedy, which will go back to the Agencies Drinking Beer podcast. We're going to pull out a lot of that content. It'll be a great comedy.
Yes. Don't listen to anything Kevin says. He's a filthy liar. Yeah, I mean, those were fun days, the Agencies
That was
Drinking
a lot of
Beer.
fun. I mean, think of some of that content. That's a riot.
It was bad for our livers, though.
Oh, yeah. I feel a lot healthier now that we stopped that.
Every Friday, we were just like shit-faced. Not good.
But it was a great podcast.
Yeah, I think so. We were just finding our way.
Yeah, we were.
Learning the ropes a little bit. So I don't want to make this, as much as it is kind of an episode that's really about us and our business, I also want to try to provide some value to the listeners in terms of what lessons did we learn last year? Because it's not really, we haven't grown, nobody's grown as people unless they've, fucked up and made a few mistakes and picked themselves up and learned from it. Anything come to mind for you, Kevin?
Well, my biggest, 2 big learning things from last year. Number 1 was that it's a fucking long haul when you're raising capital.
Yes.
So in the fall, we kind of pulled the trigger and kind of put some feelers out to raise some capital, and then we went down the due diligence path with a Valley VC. Mm-hmm. We went for the big one,
Yeah.
And it was a great learning experience.
Yes.
The time involved and the due diligence, and I realized we made the right decision not going down that path at the beginning of this journey.
Yeah.
Because it would have taken a lot of our time and it would have taken us away from our business. So I think it was a huge learning curve. There were a lot of great questions asked for you and I, difficult questions that we had to really reflect on. And it was a good learning experience for me.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's there's a few lessons in there. One is not always feeling like you need to follow traditional startup wisdom. So, I think this will be more valuable, as transparent as we can be for people listening, is that, as you mentioned, we decided, okay, we're ready to raise some capital. So we're ready to put some feelers out, talk to people. You started having good conversations. One VC in the Valley kind of really charmed us a bit and came out and met with us, and we got pretty good vibes. And then we had another investor that we also felt great about, and we sort of weighed the pros and cons, and we kind of wanted to go with the other investor that wasn't necessarily a Silicon Valley VC one, but we kind of felt traditional startup wisdom says you always go with the ones from the Valley, the real VCs with, all the connections to Silicon Valley and San Francisco. And so we kind of, I think, went with against our gut.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And then, as you said, we got down the line with these people, and we both of us figured out on both sides that it wasn't a right fit. Our cultures aren't aligned. We just don't think the way Silicon Valley venture capitalists think. And so, unfortunately, we wasted a lot of time. Not all a waste, but we did waste time.
Yeah, but again, it was a great learning experience. If you look at it that way, glass half full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what we would do differently is we would probably follow our gut more.
Yep. And we have done that in the past, and it's treated us well.
Yeah.
Every time we go the other way,
it backfires.
bites us. Yes.
Absolutely. The other thing that I learned anyway is, there's definitely a few things, is that it isn't done until it's done, and to not announce things prematurely.
Yep.
I think we did that with a lot of things, particularly, this deal that we've been working on. We kind of thought it would be closed sooner, so we made certain decisions.
We were 90% of the way there, but we still should have waited.
It's not done until it's done, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, till the money's in the bank. And other things, some of these launches like 2.0, the ebook, there's a lot of things where you kind of go like, okay, this should be done in a month, so I'm going to announce it now and get people revved up for it, and then it takes like 9 months. And actually, there was a really good post by one of my friends, Joel Kelly, who I really respect, and he wrote a post that's on Medium, which we'll provide a link in the show notes to it, and it basically says, "Don't make resolutions." That's the headline. And when we make statements on Facebook like, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or here's my goal, and then we receive praise and commendation, that actually satisfies us. So we don't work as hard to do it.
Right.
I announced on Facebook a few months ago, I'm like, I'm giving up booze. I'm never drinking again. A week, 2 weeks later, whatever, Whereas Joel actually did quit drinking, and he talks about it in the post, and he never announced it, never said why. I remember I was out for drinks with him. He was having like Shirley Temples the whole night. And afterwards I was like, what are you drinking? And he told me, he was like, oh, I don't drink anymore. And I was like, oh. But he was only able to do that because he didn't talk about it. And It wasn't because he was like this hardcore alcoholic. He just realized that all of his other goals, like starting a business and being an entrepreneur, he couldn't do it if he always had whiskey to fall back on.
Yep.
So in the future, I think what I'm going to do is not announce things that I'm doing as much, and announce them when you've made progress or when you're done, but not beforehand.
Or to your partner, so I can keep you in check.
Yes. Yeah, announce it to your partner. Third thing that I learned, I think we both learned, is to not put off having tough conversations.
Right.
I think the more that you run a business, the longer you run a business, the more people you employ, the more important it is for you to be able to address problems right away and have difficult conversations right away. And I think in the past year, I certainly put off having them because, it's easy to just sort of avoid the uncomfortable and go, okay, well, there's plenty of other things to work on. The longer you wait, the more it kind of festers and the worse it gets.
I agree. Yeah, completely.
Now, on a more positive note, I guess, is we learned a lot last year about leadership. We talked in a few podcasts ago about our coaching session with Dan Martell, and that was hugely valuable. And I think it's made a difference so far, but it's going to make an even more difference over the next year as we have regular, if we set yearly, quarterly, monthly goals, hold people to account, meet weekly with our leadership team, have them meet with their team weekly, just having a cadence around meetings so people just don't go off in silos is going to pay off big time. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that was a learning experience for me, especially. You always hear about coaching, life coaches, business coaches, and we didn't know what to expect. We'd seen Dan speak, and he comes highly recommended. I mean, he's walked the walk.
Yeah.
But he talked the talk too. I mean, he definitely. I highly recommend his sessions to anybody out there.
Yeah, and I mean, and Dan also. This is I think a good lesson for people who run service-based businesses, consultancies, agencies, and whatnot. Is again specializing. Sorry, getting over a cold here. But Dan only works with high-performing SaaS company founders, right? So because of that specialty where he's, talking about things that are very specific to us, it makes the coaching that much more valuable.
True. So we do have our friend down in Georgia for our agencies.
Yes.
Let's give him a little plug.
Jason Swank.
Yeah, Jason Swank. He's the guy to go to for the agencies.
He is, yeah.
He's good.
All right, my voice is going to go soon, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. Two more things to touch on. One was processes. I think that becomes more and more important the bigger you grow. When it's just 4 of you sitting around a room, you don't need process as much. As you start getting in the 10, 20, 30 person range and beyond, processes become even more important. So we learned a lot last year around just starting to implement processes. Just for example, our dev team, we started using Jira, which, is a very robust issue management, kind of agile software. And, there were things that worked, like, traditional startup wisdom software development stuff is like daily stand-up. Teams started doing it, didn't find it was that valuable, so they started switching the days and times and frequency of the meetings. So it's just part of the process to learn, figure out what works for you.
Yeah, and I think part of us understanding we need process was the hiring of Jenny. We as we always say, we're probably double this year in size, if not more, and we need to make sure that foundation has no cracks, especially from the HR standpoint. So we have Jenny now, who's our new HR manager. Hiring Jenny really helped with the process because we need a solid foundation as we move forward and doubled our team into 2018. She's our new HR manager. She's worked out really well. And then we have Cavell, who just started last week. She's an office manager, assistant, kind of taking on a lot of things for us so we can start to get back to really focusing what we need to, which is navigating the waters ahead of us. Process really helps to keep your focus, especially as founders. And so Kyle's here. He's having a hard time. He's got a glass of water, though, so I think his voice is shot. This is his 25th podcast of the day. At least it sounds that way. All right. Yeah, okay. Listen, we're going to sign off. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a prosperous and healthy one.
Thanks for listening to the Proposify Biz Chat with Kyle Racki. For more episodes, check us out on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Click subscribe to get updated on the latest episodes, and be sure to rate and review.